Casey and the Sports Doctor here at East Lyme High School, and we are where?
Where's it, Viking Valley up here? We're ready for the season, yeah.
The East Lyme cheering section as we bring you the Game Day High School Boys Basketball preview and the fitting place to be here at East Lyme High School.
Yeah, East Lyme, Casey, one of the favorites this year to win the ECC and, in my opinion, the state championship.
Well, well, they headlined some of the big stories this year in the ECC. Big story number one, life without Mikey. I know these guys love hearing that name. Well, for the first time in 3 years, the ECC ambassador, Mikey Bassetto, is not here, which means somebody is going to have to fill the void on and off the court for the charismatic Waterford star. And I know the Viking Valley thinks that guy lives right here in East Lyme.
Yeah, he's right here. He's Dev Ostrowski. He's got all the skills, all the tools, Casey. He is a star waiting to happen this year for the Vikings.
Well, the second big story this year is the ECC and the beasts of the scheduling. The ECC has decided to step it up. East Lyme opens up Notre Dame of West Haven. They're going to play Glastonbury. They're going to play Weaver, not to mention Waterford twice, and that's just one of the big schedules on the ECC this year.
How about NFA has got to play East Catholic? They've got to play Holy Cross. Waterford's playing Brian McMahon. All these schools going out of the league, taking on the big boys across the state.
And New London's going to, of course, play Prince Tech twice, a school that the ECC got used to last year. So let's talk a little bit about the third story, which is the road to Mohegan Sun. Who's going to end up at Mohegan Sun playing for a state championship? I think so.
Consensus says here East Lyme will be.
You guys going to be out? You guys booking tickets to Mohegan Sun? That's facts. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the teams to beat in Division I here in the ECC.
Well, a team to beat in Division I clearly is East Lyme. They are locked and loaded. They saw the process that Waterford went through last year to win the ECC championship and then go on to win a state championship. They're a little more seasoned. They've learned a lot, Casey. They are ready to take that next step in Division I.
Well, they're going to have to overcome last year's champion. They're going to have to overcome Waterford, the defending state champions in Division I in the ECC. They return a lot of players. They are not, the cupboard's not bare there in Waterford.
Yeah, the other team I like too, Casey, to make a run in the state championship. How about I'm going to keep an eye on the St. Bernard Saints? They lost a tough one last year in the quarterfinals. They're back-to-back Division II champs. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if St. Bernard's made a little run for the sun themselves.
Well, back-to-back champs, but they're going to have to go up against Woodstock Academy, who returns all 5 of their starters, including Game Day favorite Chase Anderson, and not to mention the Stonington Bears, who dropped down into Division II to challenge the Saints.
Yeah, well, listen, the league is loaded. We know it, and I'm sure all the guys are ready to bring it on.
Well, let's start with the best backcourt, the best guard play, the most dynamic guards in the ECC.
Oh, Batman and Robin, we just heard about that. Casey, let's keep an eye on, how about the Waterford Lancers, too? You talk about backcourt Kenny Hill, you talk about J.J. Brennan, and the Swiss Army knife and Liam Spellman.
Well, I think you mentioned it. If you're going to talk about dynamic guards, you start with a dynamic duo, right? Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
But they're going to have to go up a lot of talented guard play. Stonington's got talented guards in Zach Scott and R.J. Perilla. New London has the best transfer. They got Adrian Cicero. You know, now, hey guys, for all of you youngins here, we got to understand Cicero was an ancient Roman scholar. He also was one of the first great orators. It's not a pizza place.
Do you think they know that, right? Casey?
Of course they know that.
All they know about is Batman and Robin and Dev.
Scholar athletes here at East Lyme High School. Another great backcourt we haven't talked about, perhaps the most underrated backcourt over there at NFA.
Well, I'll tell you what, you've got Nick Hay, and how about Mason Jackson, the sophomore who's ready to make that next step. He had a great summer AAU circuit. He is also a Player of the Year candidate, Casey, in the league.
All right, well, speaking of Player of the Year candidate, Sports Doctor, obviously it starts with a possible state Player of the Year candidate right here at East Lyme, Dev Ostrowski, the do-it-all guard. If you're talking about Player of the Year candidates, it starts right there with Dev.
Yeah, Dev is the benchmark. The benchmark in the league, and you throw in a Mason Jackson behind him. We'll keep an eye on Kenny Turner. He's also another one of those kids flying under the radar a little bit. Max Lee, Mad Max from St. Bernard's. A lot of good players, a lot of kids to keep an eye on.
Don't forget Liam Spellman, college-bound basketball player over at Waterford High School. The rivalry, best rivalry in all of the ECC, East Lyme Waterford. It has replaced New London. It has replaced
New London Ledyard, New London NFA. Waterford, East Lyme,
is
hands down the goods. in the ECC.
So let's talk about the biggest. Let's talk about the biggest shoes to fill. We'll start right here in East Lyme. Who's going to fill this third scorer role here in East Lyme? J.R. Gandenberger's gone. Who's going to replace? You got
Well, you're talking about big shoes. How about the kid with the biggest shoes, Jacob Peters? I think East Lyme this year, to be successful, they're going to need some scoring up front for either Peters or T.J. Horner, who's had a great offseason playing football. He's ready to go, too.
Well, who's going to be the big shoes to fill in Waterford? Who's going to replace Walker Sutman and Max Mazzella as the big men at the Waterford Lancers?
Replace one Sutman with another Sutman. How about Peyton Sutman? And, they've got a lot of good people over there, Casey. And how about Ryan O'Connell? We saw him come on strong last year. He's big, he's strong. He'll make the big jump this year in the for Waterford.
Right, replace one star pitcher with another star pitcher, Sutman for O'Connell. Well, how about over at St. Bernard's? Who's going to be the X factor there? We know about JoJo Beltran, Max Lee, DeAndre Williams. Who's going to be the X factor over there at St. Bernard's?
While we're talking big men, how about Nate Avery? I thought St. Bernard's was a true big man away last year from making a serious run in Division 5. Avery's got another year under his belt, Casey. Keep an eye on that young man over there. Can do some big things for St. Bernard's.
All right, don't sleep on
Dev. Don't sleep
No one's sleeping on Dev. He keeps people awake at night.
I tell you what, don't sleep on Fitch. They're going to be improved. Don't sleep on Montville. They will be improved. And don't sleep on NFA. They graduated a lot, but I like that NFA team this year.
How are we doing an ECC preview without talking about the green and gold standard of the New London High School Whalers?
I knew that was coming.
Until New London gets knocked off and doesn't win 15 games, how are we not talking about them a little bit more? Can't sleep on the Whalers, and they got Cicero.
Chop Parker's 42 wins away from 500 for his career, too.
And speaking of 500 wins, we're not even talking about Plainfield, and they're the only team that has a 500-win coach. Bobby Aramoni at Plainfield High School has won over 500 games in the ECC.
Amazing tenure.
So who is going to be the championship game of the ECC?
The ECC championship game will be the East Lyme Vikings and whoever can step up and dethrone Waterford.
All right, well,
but I'm penciling the Vikings in.
Well, then that leads me to the final thing, Sports Doctor. I think it's been widely held for the last few years that the standard for student sections has been Lancer Nation.
Yes, it has.
So I have a challenge right now from you and I want to talk about. Is Viking Valley ready to step up and replace Lancer Nation?
I'm going to put out a challenge right now to all the student sections that Game Day will be at. We want to see the best student section this year, wherever we are on the road, and Casey and I will deliver pizzas to the school afterwards.
We will deliver pizzas to the best student section in all of the ECC. So for Viking Valley, I got news. If I don't have a Viking hat on my head at our first broadcast Saturday night, you have let us all down. That's what I'm saying to Viking Valley.
It's going to be a fun year. It starts Saturday night, Notre Dame West Haven, right here against East Lyme. I'm fired up. These kids are fired up too. I'm ready to roll.
You know, while we're sitting here, we would be remiss if we didn't go to the other side and talk a little bit about girls basketball, because the Vikings have something to be excited about on that side of things as well, because East Lyme might be the only team that might be able to knock off the perennial champion New London High School Whalers this year. East Lyme Vikings girls basketball, they bring a lot to the table.
Yeah, and New London, that's a lot too to challenge, because New London is third in the state in the preseason poll. New London has been the perennial favorite. NFA's down a little bit. Waterford's getting a little bit of love, but you like a team that's kind of flying under the radar in the girls division a little bit.
I like Stonington, because anytime you got Miranda Arruda playing on your team, she's a star in multiple sports, you can compete. And don't forget the Bacon Academy Bobcats. They put a hurting on Waterford. Bonilla and Childs didn't know what hit them. Bacon Academy, very good in the girls team. So I'm going to ask Viking Valley again, can the Viking girls basketball team end up on top of the league?
There they are, yeah, they can do it. She knows she can do it down there. They're ready to take on the Whalers.
Well, the Whalers, you're talking about the X Factor, Exaria Melendez, you got Ty Pagan and Spencer Roman. Three outstanding players coming back in, but who's going to run the point? Rosie Nicholson, the all-everything guard, is gone. So who fills? Sophie Dubreel's better. I like that. There's the chant.
That's
You
it.
got much talent here at East Lyme. Is this the year? I'm going to look right at you. Is this the year to knock off the Whalers?
Yeah, that's it. Let's hear it. Oh, what a lot of fun here. And we'll be back here, as Casey, Saturday night. Notre Dame, West Haven versus East Lyme. I'm fired up. This is my favorite time of year. You can't wait either.
All right, one last chance. Viking Valley, look down there and make some noise.
Let's hear it.